Thanks everyone for being here. We'll get started with an opening statement from Coach, then go into questions. After Coach, we'll have 4 players. We'll have Preston Stone, Caleb Komalafe, Griffin Wilde, and Robert Fitzgerald. Start with an opening statement and go into questions. Coach?
Excited about the win, excited about, some of the improvements that we're seeing within our football team. This is going to be an opportunity for us to celebrate a win and also very clearly identify things that we need to improve upon and get better at. We had an opportunity there in the second half to really pull away from a team and close out a football game and didn't do that. We got a long sustained drive with an opportunity to, finish with a touchdown. Ultimately end up deciding to kick a field goal. I believe, which would have put us up 14 points, 2 full touchdowns, and then we end up getting a field goal blocked. Those things can't happen. Opportunity for us to learn and grow and learn how to close out teams when you got them on the ropes in the fourth quarter. Also learn that our football team can withstand some adversity. It showed a great deal of toughness and togetherness. The chatter on the sideline was never panicked. It was always looking out for one another. Hey, we got your back. I mean, there was, in all 3 phases, guys, willing to step up and understand it was going to take all 3 phases. And, that's how you got to win games in the Big Ten. There's going to be close games in the fourth quarter. And, our group showed today that they could do that, and proud of them for that.
Jake?
Coach, big day on the ground for both your lead running backs. How, especially in recent weeks, have you seen Caleb and Joe really build off of each other's energy and performances?
Yeah, there's just a certain confidence with all our backs, but specifically Caleb and Joe in terms of the guys that they're running behind, and the way that they're finishing runs. Both have unique skill sets and play well off of one another. And ultimately, I think that's a group and an offense is excited about the way that we can run the football. And you saw today, especially in the first half, the efficiency and an opportunity for explosiveness that can show up in our passing game when we're running the ball effectively as well.
Chris?
Coach, I was wondering if you could explain the decision-making process of kicking the field goal instead of trying to score a touchdown there.
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were up 11 points at that point, and limited possession game, field goal kicker for UCLA that's got great range. There's a breaking point there where we would have potentially gone for it on fourth down, but the opportunity to go up 14 points, 2 full touchdowns, with the way that our defense was playing at the time, was something that we felt was wise and the best decision.
Louis?
Defense was strong early, and then UCLA really put together some long drives as it went on. Did something change, and did you still feel that confidence at the end of the game, though?
Yeah, I think there was, opportunities on third down. I'm not a huge check the stats right after the game, but UCLA was 50% on third down, and there was some third and long opportunities to get off the field. The one that stands out to me was the long scramble by Nico. When we bring pressure, where we got a really good call on, like our pressure, like the coverage. We can't let them get out of the pocket in that scenario. They did find a little bit of rhythm there, and ultimately proud of the way that our defense bowed up the last 2 opportunities, the last 2 series. But there's when we talk about who we are, there's going to be some times where we're not concerned about how many yards we gave up, but we got to bow up in the tight zone, and we have to be one of the best teams in the country on third down. That's an area that I know Tim is emphasizing, but we need to continue to find answers to be better on third down.
Yeah.
Coach, you went mostly with Drew and Hayden as your second and third wide receivers today instead of what we've usually seen in Frank and Ricky. Obviously, a lot of drop problems in the past have plagued this wide receiving core outside of Griffin, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit just about the decision to use those 2 guys more and what your overall thoughts were about your receiving core's performance today.
Yeah, Frank and Rick will continue to be huge parts of what we do offensively, and ultimately, Drew and Hayden most recently have shown a lot of progress and are making a lot of plays and kind of going with the hot hand. But that's a group that needs to continue to be a group that is a threat because of their depth and the diversity in that room in terms of skill sets. Frank and Rick are guys that we certainly believe in and continue to do a great job, but Hayden and Drew have really started to come on and are seeing more and more opportunities because of that.
Charlie?
Coach, on that first drive, or on the first half, 3 scores on all 3 drives. What do you think was just working well in that first half for you to be able to produce points on each drive?
Yeah, the run game was certainly effective. Passing game, I thought we were in really good rhythm. There were some sustained drives there in the second half that you're like really excited about the way that we're moving the ball. But whether it be a negative play or a penalty or something that just gets us out of rhythm, things to improve upon. And ultimately that drive that we've been alluding to with the field goal, we put together a great drive. We're down inside the 5-yard line. That's got to just be a mentality thing for us offensively, that we got to find a way to finish that drive in the end zone.
Matt?
I think, since you've been head coach here, most times your running backs have kind of been by committee, but, Caleb had a 100-yard day first time in your tenure here. 27 carries, is that kind of, I don't think you're going to give him 27 carries every game, but is with him as the lead back and that kind of ratio, is that the expectation going forward?
It's going to be week to week in terms of what we're seeing, but the thing that Caleb has proven, Matt, is that he can carry that load and the level of consistency. And a guy like himself, a guy like Joe, sometimes on offense you're searching for those explosives. Those guys, I think, would be the first one to tell you there's still some opportunities out there for us in our run game to even be more effective than it's been. Making a second, third level defender miss and turning those plays into explosive plays. But Caleb just has continued to grow, and we got some running back by committee out there for sure. But a guy like Como having 27 carries and over 100 yards, that fires me up. That's something that's going to have to show up throughout the season.
A couple more, Chris.
When you talk about the two-headed rushing attack with Caleb, Joseph, how much trust do you have in those guys now, kind of being the identity, I guess the tip of the spear of the offense, kind of going forward, and everybody kind of following what they're able to do?
Yeah, I think, immense trust in those guys. Just the way that they carry themselves. Cam Porter's been such an incredible influence in that room and continues to be. Just the way that Caleb has really grown up and stepped into his own as a running back, the way that Joe Hyman operates, the development of the other young guys in that room. And ultimately, there's a certain level of confidence in that backfield right now about who they're running behind, and that's just something that we have to continue to build off of. And again, really proud of the way that Preston played today behind that offense line. There's a couple of just decisions that you see where he tucks the ball, runs, makes positive yards, or picks up a first down. There are so many things to look back on and say, these are things we need to improve upon. It shouldn't have been as close of a game as it was. Credit to Tim Skipper and their staff and their team for staying together and, making it a game in the fourth quarter. But, we got to be honest with ourselves. That shouldn't have been as tight of a football game as it was. We got to learn how to put our opponents away in the fourth quarter. And ultimately, when you have a mentality and identity with an offensive line and running back room, that's something that we should be confident in doing.
Gavin?
Coach, on that last drive, it looked like Anto whiffed on a sack a little bit, and then 1 or 2 plays later, he ends up getting the sack to essentially clinch the game. A little bit emblematic of kind of the season that he's had where, he's getting wins but hasn't quite put the finishing touches on at least the statistics part of it. How would you say that you've seen him, really battle through this season and just kind of persevere to end up, having the game that he had today?
Yeah, with maturity. He's I think there's a lot of guys that would go, stat chasing, and Anto Sak is not that. We've gotten hurt on a couple draws earlier in the season where we've had to be aware in terms of the way that we work our pass rush mechanics in those situations that maybe are not always advantageous to a pure pass rusher like Anto. How do you rack up sack totals? Well, you get into games like this, where you got a 2-score lead in the fourth quarter and you get offenses in 2-minute drill. But ultimately, the last couple snaps that I saw Anto Sak out there looked pretty damn good. So excited about what's ahead.
Last one, Charlie?
Coach, what did you make of those last 2 defensive drives just to kind of hold UCLA from driving down the field and preventing them from getting a score?
Yeah, I'm proud of our guys. I'm proud of Tim McGargle, proud of the defensive staff. I thought guys just did a really good job of staying the course and keeping poise. After the game starts to get tight, and just gave up a touchdown and a 2-point play, and a few plays earlier, or a few minutes earlier, you're with the ball inside the 5-yard line with a chance to go up 17 points. They didn't flinch. They found a way to close out a football game, and that's defensive players should relish that opportunity. You know, we get a chance to go out on the field in a 2-minute situation and close out the game, and proud of the way that our guys did that.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.